All right, traders, good afternoon. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Tuesday, August 18th, and the S&P I believe, new all-time record. I don't for the close. So while it's been a very small move intraday, basically every day, we moved 8 basis points today. Look at that. So yesterday, sorry, I'm just making a few jokes. I'm just being a little bit lighter today. But yesterday I was joking around because the S&P did not move at all throughout the day. And if we go, and kind of drill down to the sectors, you could see why. The Qs did the heavy lifting again today. They did finish up 96 basis points for the day, so just about 1%. The Qs outperformed, and they did rally a bit after the open, up about a 0.5%. So at least that gave us, some things to kind of trade for the day. My theme of the day was definitely the FANG stocks. Amazon led the way, so really nice setup there in Amazon, as well as a couple of the other ones came to life too. I didn't trade all of them, but they did have some nice movement today. You could see from our little Apple watch list here. But look at Amazon, up 4% for the day. Apple did just fine, up about 80 basis points. But actually, Google did really nice today, and so did Netflix. Facebook was the underperformer. I'll get to Facebook in a minute. Of course, that was the one that I picked yesterday to put on. But it is what it is. It did still move a little bit, and I was able to make a little bit of money on a trade. But big move. Let's talk about the Amazon for the day and kind of how that's set up. And this was something that I put out on Twitter last week. Just talking about, hey, this thing kind of looks like it's ready for the next leg. I had some people kind of tell me, I don't know, it looks like it might start to break down, yada yada yada. But I said, hey, well, we'll just kind of wait for the signal. Someone actually asked me last night about it because I tweeted out a whole bunch of things, and Amazon was not on there. And I said, yeah, I'm still watching. Just because I don't tweet it out doesn't mean I'm not watching it. A lot of times what this game is about is basically just setting out alerts and waiting for the trigger to take place. So what I've kind of learned too is sometimes, when the alert does go off, and sometimes you have to feel like you have to chase a little bit. Sometimes I go ahead and chase because it's the worst thing when you do the work, you do the setup work, you put the alert in place, and the alert goes off and you don't do anything. But I thought that this was kind of ready to go, so I thought it was worth a shot. You could see the trade that I did today, and this was right out of the gate, 3 minutes out of the gate. I put on a $20 wide call spread. It's just the way I like to trade Amazon. Everybody has different methods. Some people like to trade stock. Some people like to just trade outright calls. For me, it's call spreads. So I took a target at $11. Put this on for $7.60 in the morning, and then also took targets at the end of the day for $14 on that call spread. So just about a double on that, and then I rolled the profits. Because that's been really working, especially for something like, for Tesla, right? We traded Tesla last week. We talked about how that was setting up for a big move. We got it. And I rolled that trade over a couple times, and I was like, hey, that's a nice little trade, nice profits. And I didn't keep rolling it over. And then, with the hindsight 2020 glasses on, it was like, hey, I should have just kept on rolling that trade, rolling the profits over and over and over. That's really how you compound returns, by the way, is if you really stick with trades like that. And as long as you're just messing with a portion of the profits, you can really have something that turns into, can turn into a nice winner very quickly when you have a move like we've seen in Tesla. So that's Amazon, and that's the trade that I had on for today. But meanwhile, keep in mind, I talked about this trade. This was one of our watch list names for which I talked about yesterday. So I have this trade on too. I put this trade on. Remember, I explained this program yesterday. This is something new. Again, I like to have skin in the game. I don't like to just talk about hypotheticals on Twitter and did you see this setup and that setup. I want to actually be making money, right? Not like a lot of the Twitter folk who don't show any of their P&L ever. Those guys. They got like 100,000 followers, a few of them, but they've never shown any P&L. Those guys. So what I like to do is actually trade stuff, right? So I put this trade on where I'm buying the whole watch list in the beginning of the week, and then we'll take it off at the end of the week. But so far, we're outperforming again here, up 1.6%, and that's why I wanted to try this new trade. You could see for SPY, basically, from the open on Monday, it's up a 0.5%. So that's the whole thing, is for me to try to outperform the market. So up 1.6% versus, relative speaking, SPY up a 0.5%. That's perfect. Let's see if I'm outpacing the Qs too. So if we go over to the Qs again, I do like to look at different benchmarks too. I don't like to cherry pick. Oh wow, so look at that. The Qs are up 2.11% since the close on Friday. So it looks like I'm trailing the Qs a little bit, but we'll see. I do have a lot of names in here that are not just Qs. So I did think value might outperform a little bit, but we're not getting that. I think that's good to kind of talk about too, and then we'll talk about some of the other trade setups. But interesting that value got a lot of attention. I thought it was kind of interesting to see, the industrials and so forth, but we don't know, no one has a crystal ball and knows how long these little rotations are going to last. It looks like they didn't really last too long. And, I've talked about how I don't want to get long the banks, other than for a quick bounce trade. I mean, they've given it all back again. So really, really tricky. You have to time these bounces so perfect, as well as getting in and getting out when names are in downtrends. Remember, something that I always say in these videos is names in downtrends, right? You try to avoid them if you're a trend trader. You can play them for every once in a while for a bounce, but a lot of times these things bounce and then resume their trend. It is much harder for these things to reverse trend than it is for them just to bounce and go back. So it looks like that's taking place. I think also with this IWM small caps, right? I mean, they've been, performing pretty well. They're still kind of hanging in here, but I would watch this level that we've talked about now a couple of times in IWM, which is 158.80. That IWM ETF needs to recapture that, and so far hasn't been able to do it. Just may need a little bit more time, but we'll keep an eye on it. Also, the micro caps, they're not doing much here either at that resistance point. So we'll see how it develops. But I thought that was kind of a little bit telling how weak the small caps were today. And you could see for the performance that I've got them highlighted in red. They're just not participating. Again, they have been strong, but just not showing a lot of follow through here. But regional banks did poorly. Also, the gold miners, which had a big day yesterday, gave back a decent portion of those profits. Intraday, they did start high, but they were only down 68 basis points for the day. Again, I have this sorted by biggest move in the open to close. Again, always interesting to see where the buyers and sellers are once the market opens. That's it. Also, software, you could maybe put this in maybe light green as well. That also had a good day today. The Chinese internets were doing fine until there's a headline about the government not wanting schools, I believe, to deal with Chinese companies, something to that effect. That brought them down a little bit at the end of the day. So what else? So, Amazon was a great trade. I did not trade Google. Oops, let's move Google over to the daily chart. But this is a nice looking break here. And again, Microsoft was something that I traded a little bit of yesterday too. Facebook, I think Facebook is a work in progress here. The 1 hour value area is really kind of giving us a nice little trade. I added to a trade that I put on yesterday. It was kind of a little bit of a rescue trade. And then I took profits at the top of value. And I said, hey, I'll keep the last piece on. But that got rejected firmly at 264.22. So, if you're looking for these for signals and you start a trade at bottom of value, realize that you got resistance to get through. So we'll see how that goes. It'll be on my watch list for tomorrow, but certainly did not give us the signal to kind of add more risk to it. I didn't talk about SE, but this was a nice trade that we put on yesterday for an earnings trade. SE was implying an 11% move. So what did I do? What do I do when I see that options are implying such a big move? And what's the most common winning trade when you trade options for earnings is to sell premium. right? It's not sexy because people like to say, "Oh, did you go long calls for earnings?" Realizing that calls are very difficult, to play on earnings because they are super super expensive. So what did we do? We sold a put spread, right? This is my end of day trade. That they're implying for 11% move. So we sold premium. So I sold a put spread and I collected $1.80. That's a credit spread. So I bought that back today for 10 cents, right? So here's this. Bought that back for 10 cents and then sold the debit call spread for $4. Maybe I guess I could have gotten the whole thing for it. But again, I'm happy to take like more than a double on these trades. So this was really nice, to put on something for $1.90 and make a couple bucks on, make more than a double on the call spread, and then make big money on the short put spread as well. So that worked very, very well. And then, I tried a couple other trades, some of which it's kind of difficult because sometimes, I am looking for a 1 hour trigger, and this Etsy just could not get out of value as well. So again, sometimes you see a little bit of false signals like that. It is what it is. Etsy did not, and when I put this trade on, there's 20 minutes to go before this bar closed, and I'm like, this thing needs to stay above 133.85, and right? And unfortunately, it did not close there. So we'll have to see how this goes for tomorrow, but this could end up being a loser. Again, you'll never find anybody on Twitter who doesn't show their P&L to have losers. They don't have any losers. But when we're trading in the real life, we do have losers from time to time, and we have to manage them. That's actually what makes good traders is how you manage the losers. But again, the guys on Twitter, they don't trade or have any losers, so it's tough to get that from them. Sorry, I'm in a funny mood today. Adobe looks kind of interesting here too, guys. This was another weekend watch list name. It looks like it's trying to break out. I posted this chart yesterday. Somebody told me it's really slow moving. It's up 2.6% today, so real nice move on the breakout list. A couple other names that I thought were interesting today. Shopify, slowly moving to the right side today. Closed right around the highs today. Kind of gave a really wishy-washy feel. Fastly, I would also pay attention to. This also didn't do what I wanted it to. I'm still long this name, but keep in mind, if they end up doing something, the other move, of course, everybody's waiting to hear about this TikTok thing, and Microsoft, Twitter, Oracle now expressing interest. I don't really care. You can't really make money off of this TikTok, right? It's just kind of headline stuff. But I do think it'll be positive for Fastly because part of their business is TikTok, and a good chunk of it. So you kind of want that to take place, and that might be a nice positive move for Fastly if that actually happens. So that's something that's I think kind of tradable and interesting. Microsoft, if you're looking for something for tomorrow, this 1 hour, this thing could run. Well, sorry, this is only about $1 move left that this thing has, but I think pretty interesting there. Another name that I was watching at the end of the day, which also didn't trigger, just a little bit unlucky with some of these things. Wingstop, still made a nice move today, but I need to see this get out of value for the week. All right, guys. So we'll leave it there. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about? I took some profits in JD today. That's a name that I've been holding for a long time, all the way up to $71 for this one. And nice to see this thing, break out like that. And again, like I said, I've been holding this one for a while. So nice to get profit targets on that. What else? Just a little bit of scalping trades. I scalped a little bit of Microsoft today. Started a trade in AMD today. Took it off. I didn't like how it was reacting, even though that saw some calls early on in the day. So again, there's all my trades for the day. Have a great night, everybody. Oh, one positive thing that the Wall Street Journal came out today and said that, let's see, how come I can't? There we go. Whoops. And said you could have, the way I interpret this is you could have one drink a day. And they're not even saying, what the size of the drink has to be. So I think that's pretty positive, right? All right, guys, have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.